Inside ADX Florence, the psychological side of Supermax confinement. Before we dive into today's story, hit that subscribe button, because once you step into the shadows of this case, you won't want to come out alone. The night the FBI convoy tore through the Colorado desert, sirens slicing the air like knives, it felt less like a prisoner transfer and more like an attempt to outrun fate. Floodlights carved long blue streaks across the sand. In the back of the armored vehicle sat the man who had shocked 3 states, a man whose name had been spoken in courtrooms with trembling lips: Elias Crane. Crane was a former military interrogator turned convict, intelligent, calm, and eerily quiet. He was the kind of criminal who unnerved even veteran agents. Not because of what he had done, but because of how effortlessly he had done it. His crimes were methodical, clean, almost surgical. And tonight, he was being delivered to the place built for men like him. ADX Florence, the Alcatraz of the Rockies. What happened during that transfer sparked a mystery that still haunts investigators. The convoy stopped 5 miles from the prison perimeter. A lone sedan had been found abandoned on the side of the road, its headlights still glowing through the desert fog. Inside, agents discovered a burner phone still warm, as if recently used, and on the cracked screen, a message flashing. He shouldn't be there. No signature. No explanation. No footprints in the sand. Just the chilling message and the silence of the empty desert. When they finally reached ADX Florence, Crane stepped out with an expression that unsettled everyone. He looked at the fortress-like walls with something between recognition and relief. Inside, the prison felt colder than any Colorado night. Thick steel airlocks swallowed every sound. Officers avoided eye contact with Crane, but he didn't seem to notice. His attention was fixed on the walls, tracing cracks, corners, dark spots, like he knew them, like he'd seen them before. 2 floors above the intake area, psychologist Dr. Mara Ellison watched from a narrow observation window. She specialized in isolation-induced breakdowns and had been assigned to evaluate Crane during his first 72 hours. She had seen hundreds of inmates enter ADX, but something about him made her step back from the glass. Later that night, Crane was locked into his cell. It was identical to every other: solid concrete walls, a 4-inch window slit, and a door thick enough to stop a rocket. The cell was designed to crush sound, to muffle thought, to turn time into an enemy. 30 minutes after the door sealed, Crane began speaking, softly at first, then louder. Not to the guards. Not to himself. To someone in the walls. Dr. Ellison reviewed the footage twice, then a 3rd time. His lips moved in clear patterns. Not nonsense. Not hallucination. A conversation. She called the control center and asked who Crane had been placed next to. The answer froze her. Crane's cell had no adjacent inmates. The cells on both sides had been kept empty for renovations. He shouldn't have been speaking to anyone. The next morning, the warden, Samuel Cross, summoned Dr. Ellison to his office. A man known for his steel spine and zero tolerance for imaginative theories, Cross listened to her concerns without blinking. "He's manipulating you," the warden said flatly. "Crane's entire life is psychological warfare. Don't let him pull you into it." But Ellison wasn't convinced. She ran Crane's audio through filters. No other voice appeared. Only his. Yet his expressions, responding, pausing, nodding, were unmistakably those of someone listening to another person. That same afternoon, the guards discovered something strange: a small piece of scratched concrete under Crane's bed. It looked like it had been chipped from the wall. But that was impossible. Every inmate is searched before entering ADX. They carry nothing: no tools, no metal, not even a paperclip. Crane had only been inside for 14 hours. How had he removed concrete? When Ellison questioned him, he simply smiled and said, "This place is quieter than I expected, but not as quiet as they think." She pressed him. "Who were you talking to last night?" Crane tilted his head. "You'll meet them soon." That night, Ellison couldn't sleep. Something about his tone lingered in her mind. Not threatening. Not mocking. Knowing. As she drove back to the prison the next morning, her phone buzzed with a message from an unknown number. A single sentence. Check the old wing basement. Her stomach tightened. That section had been sealed years ago. No one, not inmates, not staff, not researchers, was supposed to be down there. Yet whoever sent that message knew she was already questioning the official narrative. Ellison reached the prison and headed straight for the restricted corridor. Dust, silence, and darkness swallowed the space. She reached the rusted basement door, and her hands shook as she turned the handle. The lock clicked. The heavy metal door groaned open. And what she saw in the dim blue emergency light made her heart drop. Someone had been living down there. Recently. A cot. A metal cup. Footprints in the dust. And taped to the wall, a photograph of Elias Crane, younger, standing in a hallway that looked exactly like ADX Florence. But it was dated 3 years before he was ever imprisoned. Dr. Mara Ellison stared at the photograph, her breath tightening as her eyes traced the date printed in the corner, 2019. Elias Crane wasn't arrested until 2022. There was no physical way he could have been inside ADX Florence 3 years earlier, yet the image showed him standing in what looked like the very hallway above her. The intake corridor, same blue-tinted floodlights, same reinforced steel door at the end. Dust rose around her as she backed away. Whoever had lived in the abandoned basement had been watching the prison closely, watching Crane specifically. The question that echoed in her mind was simple, terrifying. Why? Before she could investigate further, a voice boomed behind her. Dr. Ellison. She froze. Warden Samuel Cross stood in the doorway, hands clasped behind his back, eyes narrowing as he scanned the room. This area is restricted, he said. No staff are permitted here. Who authorized this? Mara hesitated. I received a message. I thought it might be connected to Crane. The warden's jaw tightened. Show it to me. She opened her phone, but the message was gone. Deleted. No trace in her inbox. No unknown number. Nothing. Cross stared at her with unreadable eyes. Stress can create illusions, Doctor. Don't let Crane's manipulation get into your head. She almost mentioned the photograph, but something in his expression told her not to. Instead, she slipped it quietly into her coat as he ushered her out and locked the basement door behind them. His hand lingered on the lock longer than necessary, as if making sure she saw it. Back in the main wing, she replayed the situation over and over. Had the warden known someone was living in that basement? Had he known about the photograph? About Crane's previous presence here? Her thoughts were interrupted by an alarm blaring overhead. Code red, South Isolation Corridor. All available security officers respond immediately. Mara ran with the rushing guards, her heart pounding. The South Corridor was where Crane was held. When she reached the scene, she saw Crane standing in the middle of the hallway, hands behind his back, for guards surrounding him with weapons raised. His cell door stood wide open, a breach nearly impossible inside ADX. Warden Cross shoved through the crowd. How did he get out? Crane's voice cut through the tension, calm and unsettling. I walked. No inmate can open a steel lock cell door, Cross snapped. Who helped you? Crane's eyes drifted slowly toward Mara. The corridor fell silent. That's the wrong question, he said. Ask who opened it from the outside. The warden's face hardened. Escort him back. Full restraints. As the guards grabbed Crane, he leaned close to Mara, his voice barely a whisper. You saw the basement, didn't you? Her blood ran cold. How do you know that? Crane smiled faintly. I told you. This place isn't as empty as they want you to believe. The guards dragged him away, but his words clung to her like smoke. She stepped into Crane's cell to examine the lock. There were no signs of forced entry. No damage. No tampering. No blood or debris. The door simply looked opened. From the outside. That night, Mara reviewed security footage again, expecting glitches or a blackout. Instead, she saw something worse. At exactly 2:13 a.m., Crane's door unlocked. No hand. No key. No staff member approaching. Just the door clicking on its own, followed by Crane stepping calmly into the hallway, as if waiting for something. Or someone. She enhanced the footage, zooming in on the moment the lock disengaged. A blue reflection flickered on the metal surface, faint, but unmistakable. A silhouette, standing just off camera, watching. Her phone vibrated again. A new message. No number. Stop digging. It wasn't an escape. It was a test. Her fingers trembled. A test for who? Crane? Or her? She rushed to report the footage to the warden, but when she reached his office, she found 2 federal agents already there, boxes of files stacked on the desk. Agent Rachel Minzer, FBI Internal Security, turned toward her. Dr. Ellison, we need to talk. Someone inside this prison is compromising national security. Mara's breath stalled. You think an inmate is involved? No, Minzer said. An employee. Possibly high-ranking. Cross didn't look surprised. Minzer continued. This tampering involves classified protocols. Psychological warfare. Behavioral conditioning. This isn't normal prisoner activity. Mara took a slow step back. Crane said he'd been here before, has he? The agent exchanged a look with Cross. Silence. Heavy and loaded. Then Minzer said, there are records sealed even from us. And we believe those records involve a program discontinued years ago. A program designed to study the effects of extreme sensory isolation. Human trials? Mara whispered. The agent nodded. Illegal ones. The room went still. Cross finally broke the silence. Dr. Ellison, if Crane was part of that program, he may know things that were never meant to reach the public. Mara's voice cracked. Then why bring him back here? Cross's answer was quiet, chilling. He asked to come back. Before Mara could respond, Minzer handed her a final photograph, recovered from restricted archives. The same basement room. The same cot. The same blue lighting. And sitting on the cot, a boy who looked exactly like Elias Crane, years younger. The photograph of the boy, Elias Crane's face, unmistakable, only 15 or 16 years old, burned in Dr. Mara Ellison's hands. He sat on the same cot she had just seen in the abandoned basement. Same angle, same walls, same sliver of blue emergency light. The date printed at the bottom was even older than the last one. 2011. She swallowed hard. This isn't possible. Crane would have been a minor. ADX doesn't house minors. Who took this photo? Agent Minzer answered in a steady voice. We don't know. The program was shut down before I joined the Bureau. Most files were destroyed, but fragments like this survived. Mara stared at the picture again. The boy's eyes were the worst part. They looked empty, as though someone had drained the world from them. You're saying he grew up here? Her voice cracked. We're saying, Minzer replied, that someone wanted him here long before he became a criminal. Before Mara could respond, the intercom crackled overhead. Security breach. Isolation wing. Cell C8. Dr. Ellison's heart dropped. That was Crane's cell. Cross, Minzer, and half a dozen officers sprinted into the corridor. Mara followed, her chest tight with dread. When they reached the wing, sirens blared and blue warning lights washed over the concrete like cold water. Crane's cell door stood open again. But he wasn't in the hallway this time. He was gone. A guard shouted, "Check the cameras." Another called out. He didn't pass any checkpoints. No one saw him. Minzer snapped. He didn't vanish. He was led somewhere. Mara stepped into the empty cell. Dread crept up her spine. The room felt different, colder, heavier. She knelt near the bed, where she noticed something new carved into the concrete. For words. Help us before they do. Her pulse quickened. Us? Cross muttered. He's taunting us. No, Mara whispered. He's warning us. A sudden metallic bang echoed through the corridor. Then another. The sounds came from below, the basement. Cross ordered. Teams 1 and 2 with me. The rest stay here. But Agent Minzer stepped in front of him. No. Dr. Ellison comes with us. She's the only one Crane has communicated with directly. Mara didn't want to go back down there, but something inside her, fear, obsession, maybe duty, pulled her forward. They descended the narrow stairwell to the old wing's basement. The air smelled of dust and cold metal. The blue emergency lights flickered like a dying heartbeat. The door was unlocked again.
Cross swore under his breath.
They entered silently, weapons raised. A figure stood near the far wall, facing away from them.
Crane.
His hands hung loosely at his sides. He didn't move. Elias Crane, Minzer commanded, turn around slowly. He obeyed. But Mara wasn't ready for what she saw. Crane's expression wasn't threatening, not cold, not calculating like before. It was broken, haunted. I told you, he whispered. This place isn't empty. Mara stepped closer. Who lived here, Elias? He pointed to the shadows behind him. Children's drawings were taped to the concrete wall, crude sketches in blue crayon. Some showed cells. Some showed faces with no eyes. One showed a group of kids standing under a caption. The quiet program. Minzer's face went pale. I thought it was just a rumor. Crane continued. They brought us down here. Kids who had no families. Kids no one would look for. They studied how isolation rewires a brain. How far silence can push a child. His voice trembled. We weren't inmates. We were experiments. Mara's chest tightened. What happened to the others? Crane closed his eyes. Most didn't make it. Cross stepped forward. That program was shut down. The government condemned it. This is all in the past. Crane looked at him with something like pity. Then why is it still happening? A metallic click echoed behind them. The sound of a door locking. Minzer spun around. Someone else is down here. Footsteps rushed across the upper floor. Heavy, deliberate. Cross grabbed his radio. Control, lockdown now. Identify who just sealed the corridor. Static. Crane whispered. They're coming.
Who?
Mara asked. He pointed toward the stairwell. The ones who made us. Suddenly, the lights cut out. Darkness swallowed the room. The hallway above erupted with shouting. Footsteps. Another slammed door. Then silence. Minzer yelled. Everyone stay together. But in the darkness, something moved near the stairway. A silhouette.
Tall.
Motionless. Watching. Mara's breathing accelerated. Who's there? The figure slowly raised a hand, holding a keycard. It slid into the slot. The basement door locked again. The figure spoke. Not Crane. Not Cross. A voice Mara had never heard.
Come. Cold.
You were never supposed to find this place. The emergency lights flickered back on. The figure was gone. Crane looked at Mara, eyes wide with real fear. They're erasing us. Minzer shouted into her radio. All units respond. This is an internal attack. We have an unidentified operative. No response. Nothing. Then Mara's phone buzzed. A message. No number. Leave now if you want to live. Crane grabbed her wrist. If you stay, you'll disappear too. She stared at him, trembling. Why me? Because you cared enough to look. The door above slammed again. Footsteps raced toward them. Minzer pulled Mara back. We're moving.
Now.
They climbed the stairs as the lights flickered violently, alarms blaring, shadows dancing across the concrete. Crane was pulled between two agents, shouting. You can bury truth, but it crawls back. As they emerged into the isolation wing, the entire prison had gone into blackout. Officers ran in chaos. Sirens malfunctioned. Every door indicator flashed blue. Unlocked, locked, unlocked again, like someone was overriding the system in real time. Cross turned to Minzer. We need to evacuate the psychologist and secure Crane before. A sound cut him off. A deep, metallic clunk. Every door slamming shut at once. Except one. Crane's. The hallway went silent. Mara whispered. This was never about keeping him inside. Crane slowly looked up at her. It was about keeping something else out. And then the final alarm blared. Primary security breach. External perimeter. Someone had entered ADX Florence. Crane smiled faintly. They're here. Mara stepped back as the corridor filled with blue emergency lights and approaching silhouettes. The last thought she had before the scene erupted into chaos was the one that would haunt her forever. This wasn't the end of the story. It was the beginning. The recording logs later summarized what happened next. Unidentified individuals infiltrated ADX Florence. Unidentified individuals escaped ADX Florence. And Elias Crane was no longer inside the prison. To this day, his whereabouts remain unknown. But 3 months later, a package arrived at Dr. Ellison's home. Inside, a single photograph. The basement at ADX Florence. The cot. The blue light. And a new message written on the concrete wall. One day you'll help set US free. If you think this story was intense, you're not ready for the next one. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss it.